Welcome back to another episode of the Good Brothers. I'm Alex. That's Mike. We are the Good Brothers, the best brothers. We are your highwaymen from LA to New York City. Mike, say hi to the folks.
Hi, folks. Mike. Hello, good brother. Hello to Brady in the background. Hello to everybody for joining us here. Like the good brother himself stated, we are your highwaymen between LA and New York City. And good brother, are we jam-packed with some awesome stuff to talk about today? Mortal Kombat has hit the entire world, and we have some thoughts about it. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I almost slipped up there, is finally in the books. We got to talk about that. And good brother, it is one of our favorite times of the year. It is the Academy Awards, but it has been a strange year. It's been a strange year for everybody. We got to hit that and so much more. We even have brackets and polls. Good brother, are you excited about this episode?
I'm super excited. We have some of our favorite things. Finally, the release of Mortal Kombat we get to talk about, get to do a little bracket work, and we get to talk Oscars. Even though it's going to be a weird year, I think we'll have a little fun with the picks.
Absolutely. So with that, why don't we go ahead and start with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So that way we have a bunch of fun stuff that we're going to do with Mortal Kombat and the Oscars. So we'll start off with the tried and true way of just giving our reviews and our thoughts. With that, good brother, I want to just kind of say, let's give our general thoughts, and then we'll get into spoilers because I'm going to slip up at some point. So, and you know what I'm talking about. So with that, why don't you give your general thoughts about this finale of Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
I loved it. I find it astonishing that it has the lowest critical rating of all the episodes. And I think the message in the episode kind of gives it away of, yeah, I understand why a lot of people don't like this. And sadly, with technology like Twitter, as much as we do get to be more connected and hear everyone's opinion, we also are more connected and have to hear everyone's opinion. I personally love the show. I think it's the second best thing Disney Plus has done after Mandalorian. I think it is one of the better MCU things. I think this espionage spy thriller that they do, they've nailed. Like all the Captain Americas and now this. And it makes me more excited for a Black Widow film, knowing that they can go into the spy world and hit it out of the park almost every single time.
Yeah, I thought it was a fantastic ending to the series, whether it is a season finale or a series finale. I think the overall arc paid itself off. And just all in all, it was quality production. It was quality acting. It was quality script and writing and dialogue, which is something that we're going to talk about in just a little bit. So I think what we got here was knocking out of the park. And, you know, it's interesting because I've been wondering whether or not it's better than WandaVision, on par with WandaVision, you know, if it didn't quite hit the mark. And I think it not only over exceeded expectations, I think it's better in its own way. It's not as good in its own ways. I think that's what makes the MCU and these two specific shows so unique. And if you want to throw in the Mandalorian with that, they all have different flavors. You're not going to a Italian restaurant 3 nights in a row. No, it's an Italian restaurant, a Mexican restaurant, a Indian restaurant, a Pakistani restaurant, a Greek restaurant. You know, like that's what I really enjoyed about it. Doesn't mean every dish you've enjoyed, which is every episode, but with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, this series finale, I think it's been consistent, the quality of every single episode. I think the choreography has been great. The acting has been great. I don't think any political or social commentary they've had has been done over the head. I think it's been really well done. And I think that's just from my perspective. And with this series finale, it just did more than drive it home. With that, I give it a high recommendation. 4.5 out of 5 stars for me. Good brother, what do you give it so we get into spoilers?
I'll give it a nice 9 out of 10. I do think when you film a show like this, which is basically meant to be a 3-hour movie of sorts or a 4-hour movie, you do run into the fact of waiting weekly for one continuous story. I think what helps a show like Daredevil, which people are comparing it to, is that you were able to sit down and watch it all through. So when you tell one major story plot, it's a little easier to consume in a binge aspect compared to, let's say, Mandalorian Weekly. It worked really well for that because we kept traveling and it was a longer story compared to this, which was really takes place in like a weekend, maybe a week when you really narrow it down. So that's the stuff I like about it, but I understand where people are like, I might as well wait for it all to be out there. And I don't blame people for saying, let me wait for it all to be released. Same with WandaVision, and then I'll consume it and see. And I would say you might enjoy it even more in that sense.
Well, it's interesting you say that because I think moving forward, I want to see how people call this series because it's time for spoiler alerts. at the end of this series, it is called Captain America and the Winter Soldier. It is true. You know, Sam is the new Captain America. He has taken on the mantle. He does have the shield. He still has his Falcon wings. And quite honestly, I think the costume design is top notch. I think what it worked for me, and like I'm not one of these guys that hates when the mantle's passed upon. I think I hate more when they make characters to placate to people more than this, you know. And with this one, there's already the history in the comic books. Okay, that's fine. Even for some people, they're not okay with that. But beyond that, storytelling, the arc that we've seen from this entire series, from all the way in the original Captain America and the Winter Soldier, this has played itself out. So it's not like they're just throwing this upon us. It's not like they gave it to Bucky or to Walker. They gave it to the guy who earned it. And not just that, the performer behind it has the goodwill of the fandom. And I don't think that's always the most important thing, but it makes the job a lot easier for the studios and the writers when they don't have to worry about backlash of casting, you know? So I think with that, they knocked it out of the park. I think the acting has a lot to do with it. And I do love the twists and turns we got with the power broker. I think we caught that pretty early.
Yeah.
I was pretty interested to see how they addressed it pretty early too, even though towards the end, I thought they were going to still play with it, and they went right into it. And post-credit scene, we see she's back. Sharon Carter is going to be one of the main people. So interesting to see that. We know what's going on with, I think, Val, which is obviously our OG Elaine. She gives us U.S. agent. A lot throwing out to you, good brother. Break it down. What did you think now that we're in spoiler-heavy territory, I should say?
I loved it. And we talk about sometimes the obvious decision being the right decision. And I think, like you said, it was all set up from the very first meeting they had, and how Sam really helped, you know, Captain America, Steve Rogers, really come to terms with his life and make those decisions he makes in Endgame. I loved it. I thought the Wakandan built suit was amazing. I thought the shield work was amazing. I think giving it to Bucky would have kind of taken away from his character, because that's not his character's arc.
Right.
And which is very enjoyable and subtle, of just kind of forgiving himself and being like, I can just be a guy again. Like, I don't have to keep paying for these sins. I can be forgiven and move on with my life. So I love that part. I think the word woke culture gets brought up a lot. And I always say this, I think it's a weird word, because I always say, if there was an issue, let's say we were sleeping on, that we weren't addressing, and now we're more aware of it and going out of our way to address it, why is that bad? I don't understand. Maybe the wording sometimes, or it's kind of like Snowflake, where it's used so many times it kind of lost its meaning. I think it's okay to be woke, quote unquote, when it comes to, representation matter. That was a story that was told in the comics. So you have that for the comic nerds. Representation matters. You have that for all the African and Black people out there. I think it's okay to be woke, quote unquote. And I think the show really showed us, like, hey, maybe it's not for you. And he gives a great speech about, like, you're not going to like me just because of the way I look. Not because of anything I've done. And the same with the show. Not because it was a bad show. Not because you didn't like this. You just weren't in the mood for it. You just weren't willing to accept it. But that's okay. It's not going to stop them from making Captain America 4 and making $1 billion.
What do you think about that really fast? The fact that we do know Cap 4 is in the works. What do you think is this going to be more had to do with the War Machine stuff that's going to go that we're going to get from Rhodey? Where do you think this all plays out? More Sharon Carter? Is this where we're going to get U.S. agents? How do you think this plays out?
I'm thinking we're going to get a Skrull type of thing, because that's what they're kind of whispering about too, is the Skrulls, and Sharon Carter will play a bigger deal. You know, maybe getting this not anti-Justice League, quote unquote, or Avengers, but more of someone to go against them, but more level grounded people like a Sam Wilson and Bucky, who aren't the ultimate superpowered people like the Guardians and Thor, but they can give them enough of a battle to make us feel like Captain America Civil War or an Infinity War type of style. Because everything that comes out from this point has to be big to an extent.
I think my biggest complaints, and this isn't just a Falcon and Winter Soldier / Captain America and the Winter Soldier / Captain America and the White Wolf. Shout out, Alex. They finally mentioned him as the White Wolf. How long have I been waiting for them to actually acknowledge Bucky as...
I believe they did that in one of the earlier episodes, too.
Yeah. So the fact that this series actually, and we might see him go from Winter Soldier to White Wolf is actually pretty cool. So, but with that, I think my biggest complaint about not just Falcon and Winter Soldier, not just WandaVision, and not just Mandalorian, all of them is we don't get a lot of episodes. So there are times where either things feel a little rushed or we didn't get everything. But with that, it's such a minute thing because they still answer the questions that they told us they needed answered. Like the power
Yeah.
broker, they needed to answer. In WandaVision, we always made that big thing about the scientists. The show mentioned it twice. The power broker was a driving force continuously throughout this entire series. So I think that's also a big difference, at least in my mentality. I don't give it such a hard time, but I can see why people complain about it feels a little rushed or that we don't get enough of it. And I think that's also a good thing for the studios and everybody behind it because people just want more of it. But
and I think it goes to show you where on Disney Plus, sorry, real quick. I think it's one last point. It goes to show Star Wars is really investing in the TV, I think. I think they're really saying, no, we're going to do a lot of big things on Disney Plus. Comparison to Marvel, where both shows have almost been a prelude, a setup into Captain America 4 and Doctor Strange 2. So I find it fascinating that now we kind of had two shows. We're going to go into it thinking, is Loki going to lead into the Guardians? Are these shows not only meant to be entertaining and give us something, like you said, Power Broker, but is it more of a setup that, okay, whatever wasn't answered is going to be answered in the films? So I find it interesting that we're moving in that direction.
So with that, is there any final thoughts knowing what's going on in the future of the MCU? We don't know everything when it comes to the movie slates. You and I have had always the difference of opinion on what's going to happen in the movie industry when it comes to the theaters as we move forward into the year. But knowing what you know about what's at least in production and these properties that do exist, is there any kind of final thoughts of what you thought of how we got out of Falcon and Winter Soldier, why it was, it's going to be important moving forward, and kind of your thoughts of the MCU moving forward, knowing now after WandaVision and now Falcon and Winter Soldier, kind of where we're heading?
It just feels like a lot of setup, and I feel like we're going to get a big movie push towards Spider-Man and Doctor Strange too. I think Black Widow is going to be calling that moment of, it was supposed to be released already. It's not being released. Now it is being released. So I don't know how important that's going to be storyline wise, but this was definitely felt like a setup.
Yeah. So good brother. I think we both highly recommend for everybody to watch Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah, I highly recommend.
With that, good brother, are you ready for Mortal Kombat?
I was born ready with a birthmark.
Absolutely. And I can't wait to take it from you. With that, I think this is just going to be a general discussion of Mortal Kombat. I think it's going to be hard for us to not talk about spoilers, whatever spoilers are for this movie. I think this is my whole thing about this movie is if you were in because of the brand. This isn't something that a lot of new people were jumping into. It was because they know of this series one way or the other. So with that, are you ready? You just kind of want to talk about this and go on this wild ride?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So I want to, because I have a lot of thoughts with it. So I hope actually you don't mind that I kind of take the lead on this one and just give my general thoughts on this movie. Good brother. This is a movie that I absolutely had a wonderful time watching. The stuff in it that I liked, I really enjoyed. I think the biggest issue I had with this movie, and I think you're going to hear it around everybody, is the dialogue's atrocious. The writing's atrocious. Some of the editing isn't good. Downright bad. I'm talking WWE Monday Night Raw, somebody giving kicks to another person on the turnbuckle, bad. But the lore, awesome. I think the costume design to some characters were amazing. Others, this is a big issue I have with a lot of movies. If you're going to go bonkers, if you're going to go Outworld, Netherrealm, you're going to go Earthrealm, you're going to give us Adenia and all these different things, why not just embrace the craziness? Why is Melina and Sub-Zero in like silver gladiator gray? Why don't you accentuate the purple, the blues, the greens? Go buck wild. You're Mortal Kombat. Look, if you're not going to give us the greatest of writing and not the greatest of dialogue for your actors, give us the goods then. What we're here to see. And when they did give us the goods, the fights between, and to me, the best part of the movie, the first few minutes of Sub-Zero versus Scorpion in human forms, when you're going to just see Bihan and Henso Sasashi. But then at the end, that great scene I thought was fantastic. The montage at the end, when you're getting finally the one-on-ones, is great. An interesting thing about this movie, though, good brother, it's called Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat's fought a tournament. This movie doesn't have a tournament in it. And this all goes back to this entire thing about this movie, why I enjoyed it, but I think why it's not getting the same love as a 4-hour Justice League movie or a Godzilla versus Kong. I love this movie because I know every detail of Mortal Kombat. I know why Cabal is there. I know Katana when I see her little blades. I see Kotal Khan stuff. But if you're not a diehard Mortal Kombat fan, you don't know who Shang Tsung is. Like, he's just some wizard there. Why should he be feared? And you got it. And I'm doing my best. If you've noticed, I haven't compared it to Mortal Kombat, the original. Because while this one is better, the things that Mortal Kombat, the original, got right, I think did it a lot better than the stuff that it got right in this one. And I know that's going to be a little controversial, maybe, but I will stack up Reptile and Liu Kang and Johnny Cage versus Scorpion up against almost anything in this movie. With that, I loved it. Can't wait for the sequel. I love what a lot of was brought into the movie. Again, I have some more stuff to say, but it's your turn. It's not for round 2.
I loved it. I thought it was almost a perfect movie when it comes to a Mortal Kombat film. I like all the new characters. I understand that you can't be exactly like the video game. I always say it's kind of like Injustice, where like the Injustice video game is some of the best DC storytelling there is, but it's not the comics and you don't plan to see it on film. So I really appreciate what we did get. And I think this was one of those movies they said, like we guessed, if you're a hardcore Mortal Kombat fan, this is for you. If you're a Mortal Kombat fan, this is also for you because we're going to show you lots of violence. It felt like a video game, especially those ending fights and Goro. It felt like, oh, I'm watching, like, this is what I wanted. I thought the dialogue's cheesy, but the games are cheesy. Like, you can literally have a montage of their intros, and it's cheesy dialogue, and I like that. I love the cheese, and I think Godzilla and King Kong showed us it's kind of coming back into style, especially with these streaming devices. I think Space Jam is going to be the same. We're bringing back these cheesier movies that you and me kind of grew up on in the early 2000s. 20 years later, I feel like we're seeing a resurgence in them, and I'm here for it. I think my only issue was it was a little short. I really wanted a little bit longer, but from what you hear, they're planning on 5 of these, and it's making money, and critically, we knew it wasn't going to get the best reviews, but it's getting good audience reviews. People are looking at it. And even some critics were like, yeah, this isn't Citizen Kane, but this was fun as hell. It's more of that than the other, oh, this wasn't a good film for A, B, C, and D, kind of missing the point of, well, yeah, it was kind of made like that. I liked all the new characters. I think Sonia Blade was the only one that I was a little iffy on, but she grew on me. Kano steals the show. Hanzo Hirashi, though, is Scorpion. That's my favorite. I wanted a little more Scorpion, but I understand you had to kind of save it for, the climax of the movie. So Sub-Zero's the ultimate heel. I hate him. He's the worst. He kills kids. Why do you love him so much, Mike?
The same reason why he's the main protagonist since the first game. The same reason why after they kill him, they have to bring him back. The same reason why there's 18 versions of him. He's the Batman of this universe. There's something just about him that's, he's
the Batman. From what they've NetherRealm said, is Batman and Scorpion are more counterparts than Hero and Batman.
I could see that too. I could see being interchangeable. It's the reason why, spoiler alert, they're the 1 and 2 seeds in our bracket coming up. But yeah. I think they're the 2 best characters. They have the best scene in the beginning. They have the best scene in the end. I do like the introduction of the new character, Cole. Obviously, a lot of these movies, they have to make these characters and they make their own unique ones for this brand. I think he was pretty cool. I thought his power was kind of cool. I was all right with the way that they did it, to where it's like your powers come out in the pit during certain moments. See, I think they could have just been so much more unique. Like, I think an extra half an hour of spending 5 minutes showing Melina in the pits, eating somebody, or seeing something with Cabal and Kano back in the day, and don't even mention the other guy with the hammer. I can't even think of Raikou right now. It's really
is an important character at the lore. I mean, you and me know that, but everyone else, he was guy with hammer.
And Goro, wow, you and I love him. If you watch just this movie again, I think Goro in 95 is treated better. And all it's done is in a 30-second thing where you're seeing him just throw people around. And the idea that we see a shadow of him and the next time we see him, he gets murked. It's just really, it was, to me, for all the stuff that I loved, I'm like, that's where you missed the boat on? Again, I'm not expecting, like you said, Citizen Kane. I don't want Gladiator or Parasite. But if you're going to, for all the TLC you put into it, that was a little weird to me. Oh my God, this is the thing that this is the hill I'm going to die on, okay? What is with Am I the crazy one? Probably. What is with the disrespect of the design for Reptile? Continuously, over and over again. What is with this fetishization of making their own Lizzie? Why do we, Ed Boon, Tobias, NetherRealm, Warner, but what are you doing to me? Am I crazy?
A little bit, because I think you want a human Reptile when that's not Reptile. I would have liked some clothing and maybe a language. Like you said, him and Goro are princes of their people. You know, they're of their people, they're the gods, they're the princes, they're the army leaders. So to get no dialogue from a Goro and a Reptile is kind of upsetting. I think Goro was done a little bit better. I would have liked to hear him talk, because he does talk a lot in the games, and he's, you know, a big brute, but he does lead his people. But I think with Reptile, I like the lizard form because he's Reptile. That's the people. I would have liked to have seen him talk and have clothing more, like an actual soldier instead of a monster, which is what he's a reptilian fighter in the game, not a reptile, not a human ninja. I want the mix, and I feel like you said, we either always go one hard direction, or I think it's even worse when they go human direction.
Oh, I disagree. I think in the original game, one of the first secret characters is the Green Ninja. I mean, you know, you could do
so was
things.
So was Rain, so was Ermac.
Later on,
after Reptile. Now that they're not just color swapped Scorpions and Sub-Zeros, I think.
But this was the original. He wasn't a color swap. He was the original. He was one of the original three. The other guys are the color swaps that come later on. He's an originator. That's what I'm thinking of it.
Original, secret character.
Oh, I disagree with that, good brother. I know this is the difference too. If I wanted to be one of those snot critics, we could go that direction. As a fan of watching these type of movies, as a fan of the brand, there's so many things I love about it. One of the things, again, the weird thing that they do with Kung Lao over and over again, that they just job him out, and what's funny though is I like Kung Lao more in this movie than Liu Kang.
I thought Liu Kang was the one that dialogue. They didn't give him a lot. I like Kung Lao because that's the video game. He's very cocky, and they do put him over for quite a bit until the end. He only died to the main protagonist. I think that's okay. I do feel like Cole kind of took a lot of Liu Kang's roles.
Yes.
I find I'm in the middle. I would like to see Liu Kang be the more leader of this. At the same time, I like Cole, and I like that we visually got to see a lot of Liu Kang.
Right, and Brady really wants to be part of this conversation. What do you think Brady is a fan of? Is Brady a fan of Sub-Zero, Scorpion? Does he think Reptile needs to be a ninja? What do you think Brady would say?
For everything I say, because
I see. Can you grab a little sucker?
Will not be a Scorpion, Mark.
Yeah, is he around? Can you grab him so the fans can see your?
He's running around at the moment.
If I can, Stacey might pop in. So wondering what's going on. Alex is not getting rated right now by Sonia Blade and Jax to join the tournament. It is the dog Brady, and anybody who's fans of the network know that we have a bunch of dogs here too. So quarantine life while you're in studio, it is what it is. But with that, good brother, do you have any final thoughts? We've waited a long time for this movie to finally come out. We know we're gonna get a sequel. It's gonna make some money. It's gonna have its reviews. I don't think HBO or Warner Brothers or anybody who was making this movie were sitting there thinking, "Oh, we're expecting a certified fresh," and anything. I think they were just, can we get views? Can we get some money? And can we just invest in a sequel? How do you feel after all this now?
I feel like it was meant for HBO. I think it's one of those films where you and me would have maybe gone a little lower in grading had we had to pay for it, had we had to go in public. And we're getting to that point now where we can safely go to these films. I think this and Godzilla really showed that some films need to be on HBO Max, and that's good because they're still going to make money, and you can build a world on these platforms faster than you can build them in the theater, you know. And especially, I think you put a little more money in it next time, you spend a little more time on the writing, you'll be okay.
Absolutely. Well, good brother, why don't we move on? We have a special treat for the fans here of the Good Brothers. We didn't do a tournament this year. You know, things were kind of crazy. It was tournament time for you in real life, for you and the kids. So we are bringing a bracket on to this conversation as we get ready to put this conversation of Mortal Kombat at rest for today. We could talk a little bit about it throughout here because one of the characters that doesn't show up in this movie but is a post-credit has a nice seed in this bracket. But make sure you guys are tuning in because at the end of the show, we are making our Oscar predictions. But good brother, are you ready for one shining moment in Outworld for our Mortal Kombat Mercado realm bracket?
I'm always ready.
With that, all right. Would you like to hear the seedings first, or you want to hear the seedings as we go?
Let's do it as we go.
Beautiful. You want to start with the number 1 seed taking on the 16th seed. It is Scorpion taking on Nightwolf. Who moves on?
Easy, Scorpion. No brain. I do like the nods to Nightwolf, though.
So did I. A very nice, fun one. I don't think he's ever going to make an appearance, though. So at least, without taking too much appropriation, they at least quick shout out. Well, let's move on. So, but you and I are Nightwolf fans in the game, especially MK3.
Yeah, I really enjoy everything that they do with him. And I think he has some of the cooler fatalities, honestly.
With that, 9 versus 8. This is a fun one. Raiden versus Kano. Kano, a star in the movie. Raiden, a backseat character. I love Raiden. And even, in the first one, at least Christopher Lambert does a lot in it. This one, not so much, which kind of sucks because I love Raiden.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a bummer. But with that, Raiden at 9, Kano at 8. Who moves on?
I'm going to go Raiden because I think Raiden in the video game is one of the most special characters. And we really do follow him from 1 through 11 at this point. And I love his story arc from heel to babyface, back to heel, back to babyface, to making the ultimate sacrifices. So Raiden's one of my favorite players to play as also. He would be my number 3.
100%. I agree. Raiden is top tier when it comes to the complexness. And a lot of that has to do with the recent games. So Raiden moves on. At number 5, Goro versus 12, Kitana. So Kitana not in this movie, assuming she's going to be in part 2, and that's when I think Liu Kang is finally going to get some more time. You know what? By the way, what I would love to see is the people who choreographed John Wick do something with the Mortal Kombat people. Just a food for thought. So your thoughts still: 5 Goro, 12 Kitana.
I don't like the little dig because I thought the action was fantastic, and I do think they have some good backing. But beside that little shot, I'm gonna go Goro. He's my favorite bad guy in the entire Mortal Kombat franchise. When you think of those big bads or the number 2 guys, he always sticks out to me. I think he looks the coolest. I think he was so ahead of his time of just like, this is what a monster is. And I love it. And I love his backstory of he's a prince and there's no bad or good people. There's, people trying to take over their world and them trying to be good leaders. So I love Goro. I think we will see Kitana in part 2 when we get more of, there's a whole outlet of characters that we haven't seen yet when it comes to Kitana and her mother and like her whole royal family line. So great character, but not getting past Goro.
Love Kitana, one of my favorite characters in all of video when it comes to fighting. Shout out to Brady. But I think one of the things that I don't like about Goro as we've moved on is that he just has become the big oaf, opposed to like when you and I were kids, where that claymation of him just kind of like always that final boss, like it just maybe sticks more to our little dummy brains. I'm going with Goro too. Moving on, I wanted to see more with him in the recent movies, but all around his legacy, top tier. I want to say this too because she's not on the list, but Melina is such a cool character. I wish they had like 5 more minutes with her just to show her complex, because it's like you mentioned in the video games, she's such a main character, but also not having Kitana in there is kind of also a catalyst that you need with Melina. They work off each other in the lore, at least,
I agree. And some of these characters I do think we'll see again, because in the movie we do kind of see, I think we'll see Sub-Zero again, and I think we'll see Goro again. But then, a Melina we might not see, a Cabal we might not see. So, and we got our little vampire girl, which is a very odd nod because there's a vampire realm, and she doesn't appear until the GameCube version of the game, so Deadly Alliance and Armageddon, sorry. So I think it's fascinating that we got her. That was a fun little nod. Again, movie, tons of fun little nods.
Yeah, it's such a weird one. But we move on. Goro moves on into that one. 13 Kung Lao versus number 4, the post-credit scenes himself, maybe going to be played by The Miz. We'll see. Johnny Cage. I mean, I don't think Johnny Cage needed to be in the movie, honestly. And I like that they showed at least a nod to him. But I love Johnny Cage. I love Kung Lao. So you go first. Who do you like in this one?
I'm going to go Kung Lao. He's my number 2 after Scorpion when it comes to picking fighters. I think he has one of the really cool backstories. If we got a little of this, is he's a descendant of the original champion. And in the video games, he's kind of almost had to live in the shadow as a number 2, even though bloodline-wise, it's him. It should be him. And I like that sort of like, it should be me. I work just as hard, but for some reason, I'm not the one. I'm the one before the one. So, and I like his story with Goro because they have a lot of that in common, and you get to hear them talk about it in the comic books that led up to Mortal Kombat 10 about them kind of being in the same issue of, well, we're both the guys, but we're still number two to this guy, good or bad. So I love Kung Lao's story, and I love his spinning hat. And I thought he had one of the best kills in the entire movie.
Oh, he has the best kill in the entire movie, and they still did him dirty, but they always do Kung Lao dirty, and we might do Kung Lao dirty because I love Johnny Cage. So we're going to have to go to the trusty digital flippy of the coin. We're going to go heads for Kung Lao because of the amazing spinning hat. Are you ready, good brother?
Let's do it.
Moving on will be Johnny Cage. Shout out to Kung Lao. Good brother thought I was going to be rigging these picks, and to be honest with you, these all have been pretty hard, and we've made some good selections into our top 16, and it keeps getting tougher because at 3, Liu Kang versus 14, Noob Saibot. What do you got going on in this one? I think this is pretty easy, right?
Liu Kang. I think Noob Saibot is very background character. I think they make him stronger than he used to be in the video games. He doesn't do anything for me. I like Sub-Zero's lineage in general, but this is the evil one, but this is the brother. It's like the cyborgs. Like, you either love that part of it or you're like, nah, that's not for me. And for me, that's not really my thing.
Noob Saibot over the last 5, 6, 7 years has become a mainstream character, not only because of the retconning of Bihan and him becoming that, and just the love that Ed Boon and Tobias both did because of being the creators of Mortal Kombat. Also, shout out to them being located here Midway back in the day. Cole is from the south side of Chicago. So
yeah, but
I'm going to go with Liu Kang, but I think Noob Saibot as a competitive video game character as well, we have to also acknowledge that this is a video game franchise, and he is amongst one of the most popular characters to play competitively because he's so good, and you've played the games, you know how much of a pain in the ass it is to go against Noob Saibot. But I think Liu Kang, just the lineage, the character design, his first movie, the comic books, they did him a little dirty in the beginning of the new era, and then they retconned it and make sure that Liu Kang is the man. So I think Liu Kang has to move on.
I agree.
All right, good brother. We keep on. What are you thinking about the bracket so far?
I like the people you've chosen. Some of the, outcomes, like the Johnny Cage, is a little sus since I wasn't there for the coin flip, but that's okay. I'll forgive that one because I do like Johnny Cage quite a bit.
It was literally on camera, and our beautiful folks here on the Good Brothers can see it, but now you see, folks, what I deal with the Good Brother himself. We move on to the 11-6. It is Jax versus Aaron Black. What did you think about Jack having little robot arms turning into the big ones? Did you like how that transformation worked? I actually liked the Jax character. That was all right, but I actually liked the Jax character in this movie.
I did too. I really enjoyed that part of it, and you kind of saw that's where it was going to go. I find it weird that you put in Aaron Black of all people, like a very newer character, fun. I don't love him, like playing as him because he's just a cowboy, but I do like the aesthetic of a playboy cowboy in NetherRealm, like hooking up with vampires and Baraka-looking girls. So I think that's kind of fun. He's a fun character, but I don't think he really stands a chance with an OG Jax, especially with the metal arms.
I'm going with Jax in this one. This is one where I think, again, we have to recognize the new generation of Mortal Kombat fans and the fact that Aaron Black, again, kind of like Noob Saibot over the last few games, has become a fan favorite when it comes to the competitive scene. I agree with you, though. For me, it's more about the aesthetic. Jax will be moving on to this, but I think the aesthetic, who would have thought that a cowboy would have worked in Mortal Kombat, right? Like, really take a second to think about that. If I would have told you that 10 years ago that they're going to have a cowboy in there, that would have been kind of lame. We would have thought Stryker, right?
Yeah.
So, sure enough, though, Aaron Black does in advance, but I think over the next years, this guy's going to be a fixture into the lore. So, and I bet you he makes it into one of the movies, but this one is a fun one. 7-10 matchup. Always a good one in March Madness, a good one here. Shao Kahn versus Sonia Blade. Who do you got?
I'm going to go Sonia. And I really enjoy her because she kind of carries the franchise as the female lead. And leading into her and Johnny Cage's relationship and Cassie Cage, I think she holds a lot too.
I love Shao Kahn. He's one of the most broken bad guys in every single video game that he ever is in. And for that reason only, screw you, Shao Kahn. Sonya Blade is moving on. Good brother. How about this one? This is a fun one. At the 15, Kenshi versus the number 2 Sub-Zero.
I'm going to go Kenshi because I think Kenshi is one of the most underrated characters, and I like his power set.
We're going to go with Sub-Zero, so let's go ahead and do the coin flip. You bastards, you did that on purpose. We're going to go heads is Sub-Zero because he has the cooler mask and because Kenshi can't see. It is up in the air. It is heads. Your plan didn't work. The Shirai Ryu continue.
Yeah.
Number 1, Scorpion versus Raiden. We could actually now we can move forward to see who our champion of Mortal Kombat will be, good brother. Scorpion, Raiden, who do you got?
Scorpion, no brainer. Scorpion's winning if I have anything to say about it.
Yeah, Scorpion's going to make a run. Goro, Johnny Cage. Oh, the grudge match. Who do you got?
I'm going to go Goro just because that's my Cinderella. That's my underdog. I'm going to push him through as much as I can.
I'm going to go Johnny Cage. Let's go for it. All right, so we will go with tails for Goro, okay? Tails for Goro, heads for tails. Goro finally gets his revenge. He is moving on at the 5 seed.
Yeah.
There we go. All right. The number 3 seed, Liu Kang versus the 11 seed, Jax. Who do you got?
I'm going to go Liu Kang on this just because I'm going to show respect to the OG.
Yeah, it's Liu Kang. I mean, you don't get to be like Bruce Lee level of notoriety without for a reason, So yeah, we'll go number 3, Liu Kang moving forward. Sonya Blade versus Sub-Zero. Am I gonna have to get the coin again?
Get the coin again.
Get the coin again.
No coin for this. I'll be respectful enough to give Sub-Zero his due.
All right. Well, Sub-Zero, I probably would have lost anyway just because of odds, but Sub-Zero will move on, and we are starting to see some biases because we have made it to the final 4. Holy cow, good brother. At the 1-5 matchup, Scorpion versus Goro.
Scorpion
moves on. And in the matchup of the tournament, number 3, Liu Kang. Number 2, Sub-Zero. Let's go ahead and just get the coin because I can make an argument for both, but I think just for fun, you're going Liu Kang, I'm going Sub-Zero.
I agree. Let's do it.
All right. Heads will be Liu Kang. Heads is Liu Kang. It is up. It is in the air. Liu Kang is moving on to the finals, which means in the Mercado realm bracket for our most intense, popular, known Mortal Kombat characters, the number 1 seed Scorpion, the number seed 3 Liu Kang. Good brother. Who's the champion?
It's Scorpion. This is his franchise. And I think no matter how you look at it, it is his franchise. And whether you look at the video games, the comics, the movies, old movies, new movies, Scorpion leads this. And I think it's his to win.
Scorpion is our first official bracket champion. He is the character that was standing right next to Batman when they made the big crossover. He's the one that they make DVDs on. He's the one that gets the most popular costumes. He's the one that's in every single commercial when the video games start. Yep. Sub-Zero may be my favorite character in the entire franchise, but there is a reason why usually Sub-Zero is getting killed by Scorpion in said promos.
He's his Joker. That's his Lex Luthor.
And I think it's Liu Kang. Shout out to him. One of the most iconic characters in all of video games. But again, Scorpion has overtaken him over the years. And it was done on purpose by the studio. This isn't something, and, now that we have our champion, Scorpion was purposely chosen to be the mascot moving forward. And a lot of that had to do with when NK3 came out, that he wasn't in it. And there was such backlash for it. So I think this goes to show that the audience tells you who's going to be the man. And part of that was that Scorpion is the champion, not only of Mercado Airwaves, our first bracket, but of the MK universe. Good brother, final thoughts of this franchise, this bracket, this movie that we love so much.
I would say if you love Mortal Kombat, I would say Mortal Kombat 9, the film, you can go on YouTube and find the movie. It's a few hours if you break it down. I think it's one of the most interesting things, and it'll really catch you up and really teach you. It goes over everything from part 1 till the newer video games. And then from there, you can kind of continue on. But there's such a rich lore. And if you like the movie even a little bit, I say deep dive into it. And you're going to really learn to love, like, oh, there's a lot in this. Everyone has a story. And I really appreciate that. And it's why it's, I would say, one of our top 3 favorite universes, not including Star Wars and superheroes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Brady would agree with me that Sub-Zero got screwed. Good, brother. It is time. We have our own Mortal Kombat. it is a tradition unlike any other. We have to make our Oscar predictions. You ready for that?
Always. We're officially 1-1, I believe. I will just say I won 2 years before that, but we weren't keeping track like the NFL. But at this moment, we're 1-1.
Are you though?
Yes.
All right, good brother. Are you? First of all, before we start going through the nominations and the picks, your thoughts as we got to this point. You know, I tweeted out the great Dennis Zhang mentioned that it's been a weird year for people when it comes to the Oscars, the excitement. And I mentioned I had to rev it up, but it has been a different year. I know you have always kind of, it's right here for you. You're always right there with it, but it has been a strange year for movies and the Academy Awards and kind of where we're at, right?
Yeah, and it's just not, I think the show itself is going to be low views, and a lot of people haven't seen a lot of these films. At the same time, I think it's a good class. I think there's a lot of stacked categories. I also think there's a lot of obvious picks, though, and maybe we'll discuss that. Maybe conversations change because it is a little political about who's running this promotion at what time, and are you doing it too early? Did you release too late? So we always have fun with the picks, and I think that's what brings it out is you may not have the best March Madness ever. You know, this year we got lucky with a great tournament. Some years we don't get so lucky. But regardless, you're going to enjoy some part of the ride, whether it's even just picking in the beginning.
Absolutely. So we also have a little treat here in the state of Illinois. And, you know, since we do it here in the great city of Chicago, the Chicagoland area, we get to go to DraftKings and we're going to be in a pool. We make 10 picks. We're going to have our individual picks for the show, and then we're going to come to unanimous one just for the poll itself. But with that, good brother, are you ready as we go down the list? And I am on the Oscars actual Academy list as we go down this way. And we will start off with what they have first, and that is actor in a leading role. We have Riz Ahmed for Sound of Metal, Chadwick Boseman for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Anthony Hopkins for The Father, Gary Oldman for Mank, and Steve Ewan for Minari. How do you think this plays out? I think this is actually one where I think it's pretty solid in the pick.
Yeah.
But as I'm looking through some of the odds, that may not be the case. I think we both agreed this is Riz Ahmed's Oscar, right?
No, I think he's actually will be third. I think it's going to go to Chadwick Boseman.
It's interesting you say that he has become the odds favorite, and I thought heading into it, like a few weeks ago, it seemed like Riz Ahmed was going to get the nod. But so you're telling me the kind of the tide has turned a little bit.
Yeah, no. If you look at the award shows in the push, Chadwick Boseman will get it, and I think it brings up the conversation: did he deserve it? Yes. Now, would he win if he was alive still? That's more the conversation. But I think Anthony Hopkins in The Father, honestly, to me, was the best performance of the year. And Anthony Hopkins keeps putting out clinics out there and showing us why he's one of the best talents we have. And we need to appreciate that while we still have him. And the work he's putting in at his age is phenomenal compared to some other people closer to his age who really kind of phone it in at times or make less. You know, this is like, out of the last 4 years, his third nomination. And I think he does a great job. But I think it's a Chadwick Boseman's award. I think it's pretty much set in stone. I think Riz Ahmed kind of got buried in it. I think Sound of Metal, beside the Sound Awards and Mixing Awards, I don't see it getting a lot of love, but I see it getting a lot of love in the sense of the nominations were the love. He's young. He'll have his chance again. But I do think we're going to get a Lifetime Achievement Award with Chadwick Boseman.
So interesting. I mean, to me, it's come down to those two. I think Anthony Hopkins is kind of like the Glenn Close, or he's always in it when he's in it. So to me, it was just I think a lot of it was circumstance, but I guess you make up a point that like whenever we did those post-posthumous Oscars, like that's a real thing. So man, I guess officially he might have talked me into Chadwick Boseman. I'll go.
We're going betting odds. He's been cleaning up the award show. He's one more safer. He's been sweeping, not losing one, but he hasn't swept because Anthony Hopkins did win one of them, but he's been pretty much winning the important ones. So I would definitely say Chadwick Boseman would be my put it.
Like I honestly thought Riz Ahmed 3 weeks, not even 3 weeks ago, let's say a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, was kind of the guy who's going to be groomed to win it. But okay, you know what? I'll go Chadwick. I mean, you've talked me into it. It was between those two guys, and I think you make up a great point. But it'd be interesting if Anthony Hopkins. So shout out to you if you bring him if he ends up getting on stage and getting the gold statue. How about actor in a supporting role? Sacha Baron Cohen in The Trial of the Chicago 7. Daniel Kaluuya in. Did I say that correctly? How do we say that, good brother?
Yeah, well, you're right.
All right. Judas and the Black Messiah, Leslie Odom Jr. in One Night in Miami, Paul Raci in Sound of Metal, and Lakeith Stanfield and Judas and the Black Messiah. I'm very interested to hear who you think is going to win this one.
This one's my money pick because this one has swept, and this one's pretty much set in stone. If you're in the industry, it's Daniel Kaluuya. He's winning. This is finally his award. I think he's been snubbed before. I think he should have got noms for Get Out. I think he should have got noms for Queen and Slim. I think that whole movie should have been a little better. But I think it's finally his time. And I think he earned it in this field of, they did the weird thing of putting Lakeith Stanfield in there with him. And if you had to pick between those two, I think Daniel Kaluuya it really brings a presence to the movie. I do love this entire category. And I think Paul Raci would have been, the second pick, but I think this one's I think the actors this year are almost set in stone. I think it's more when you get into Best Picture, you're going to have an issue.
Yeah, and again, that's kind of maybe the only thing when it comes to betting that may, just that they cross each other off for being in the same film. But I'm with you. I think this is finally his time. This is one of the easier ones. Yeah, if you're looking for a lock, I think this is the lock of the Oscars.
Yeah.
All right, so we can kind of move on to that. Shout out to him, though. I'm excited to see. He's one of the best that we have in the industry. How about actress in a leading role? This is one I think it's a two-woman race, but let me hear your thoughts. Viola Davis in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Andra Day, The United States versus Billie Holiday, Vanessa Kirby, Pieces of a Woman, Frances McDormand in No Man Land, and Carey Mulligan in Promising Young Woman. I think this is a two-woman race. I think it's down to Frances McDormand and Carey Mulligan. What do you think?
I think this is one of those. I actually do think Viola Davis is making a run for it. I think this is one of those awards where it really should. I think Frances McDormand really does do the best job. And I think it might be one of those picks where it's like, well, no, duh. Like, she kind of did do the best role of any female actress. So I'm going to go Frances McDormand on this. And I think it's very well earned. And I think she really separated herself from the clan. I do see Carey Mulligan making a fight. I don't love Promising Young Woman. I think tonight I'm more interested to see if the Academy loved Promising Young Woman, or again, like Sound of Metal, where maybe the awards were the reward for the film, not necessarily it actually coming out with a lot of Oscars.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how Viola Davis does. I mean, she's amazing. So I'm interested to see if she kind of sneaks in at the end and wins it. I do think it's just down to Carey Mulligan and Frances McDormand. Frances McDormand has been making this push for a few months now.
Yep.
This has been that thing. So I think for sake of betting, I'm going to go Carey Mulligan. I think it's something that has finally, I think it's catched on as it's finally moved on. And it's what I've heard lately. The Frances McDormand stuff has kind of teetered out a little bit. And it goes to show what you and I were talking about, that it depends on when you make that push and when you decide to make that push. So I think we're going to go that one. So you're going to go with the great Frances McDormand. I'm going to go with
yeah.
All right, very cool. So we finally have a little bit of a difference too. We move on into actress in a supporting role. Very interesting one. Maria Bakalova from Borat, Glenn Close, of course, Olivia Colman, Amanda Seyfried, and Yo Jung-yoon. We have Hillbilly Elegy, The Father, Mank, and Minari. How do you think this plays out?
So Hillbilly Elegy was not the best movie, but obviously Glenn Close really did a great job in it. I think, again, this is like Daniel Kaluuya, where this award has already been swept. It's going to go to Yoon Ya-jung. I think she is the best. I think she does deserve the award, and she's been sweeping the award. So that one's a very big money pick. Like I said, actors, we've kind of been seeing a pattern, so I really find it interesting if something does change. If it does, though, I would say Maria Bakalova.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely take that surprise win, but I think it's pretty much set in stone.
Yeah, I think it's gonna go. I think this is one of Minari's big wins. Is gonna be Yo Jung-yoon in Best Supporting Actress, and I'll be interested to see if Glenn Close, again, because you just never know. It's like a blue blood always has a chance to win. But you're right, you just go with the trend. And I think that's a goal. How about animated feature film? The very interesting year. Onward, Over the Moon, a Shaun the Sheep movie, Farmageddon, Soul, and Wolfwalkers.
From what you hear, I haven't got to see all the films. From what you hear, Wolfwalkers might be the best one, but you don't bet against Pixar. And the fact that Soul was such a good film, I think we've kind of learned on the show, like, Its message was important. Visually was important. It came out at the right time. I think Soul's an easy win on this one. But I do think Wolfwalkers is definitely the one to look at.
100% Wolfwalkers is the best movie, but Soul's going to end up winning this Oscar. Either one, if they win it, they deserve it. So I think 100% we're both going to go Soul on that one. And I think you want to go just for two of the last big ones. You want to go directing and for Best Picture?
We can do that. If you want to do a separate on paper editing and all that stuff, we can do that later. But for sure, don't bury the lead, right?
Absolutely. So if you guys want to see our entire picks for the Oscars 2021 to see who wins our version of Mortal Kombat, who finally gets the upper hand and gets to go 2-1 in the series, unless somehow we end up in a tie. Make sure you guys are following us over the universe. I'm on Twitter at Mike and Media. He's on Twitter at Mercado2 and Alex, and the show's on Twitter at Good Brothers Pod. We go to directing. We have Thomas Vinterberg for Another Round, David Fincher for Mank, Lee Isaac Chung for Minari, Chloe Zhao for No Man Land, and Promising Young Women from Emerald Fennell. How do you think this plays out?
Chloe Zhao for No Man's Land. Again, it's the name you hear the most. I think it will be the name we hear at the end of the night. And I think she deserves it. And this will only be, I believe, the second woman to ever even win this award.
Yeah, because I believe for Hurt Locker was the other time that it happened, correct?
I believe so. Good call. Good pull.
So, yeah, I agree with you. I think that's a really good way to go. I mean, it's a strong list. But I think No Man Land is going to win a bunch of awards. But I think this is the one that it's going to hold on to. Unless we get to the next one, good brother, which should be a very interesting pull on its own. But I think we're both going to go with that one, correct? We're both going to go with Chloe.
That's our safe pick right there.
Yeah, that's another safe one. And interesting to see. I know Chloe is in some talks for some interesting projects. So an eye to keep an eye on, that's for sure. And we'll see what big studios decide to pick her up for their universes. But are you ready for Best Picture?
Always. I got my pick.
The Father, Judas and the Black Messiah, Mank, Minari, No Man Land, Promising Young Women, Sound of Metal, and The Trial of the Chicago 7.
It's down to two films when it comes to best film. You're either gonna pick Minari or you're gonna go No Man Land. And I think this was tough. I'm gonna go No Man Land. I think that's the pick the Academy is going to go with. And I think it does deserve it. I think it doesn't take away from Minari being a fantastic film. Unlike Parasite, I think it's a little less entertaining. I think Parasite, what's so charming about it is it's funny, is its humor. It's kind of like a Bridesmaids meets, a Moonlight, where we're taking serious, but we're having fun the whole film. Compared to Minari, which is more lighthearted, not lighthearted in the sense of it's a small story, but in the sense of it makes your heart warm in certain parts. And that's what it's meant to do. But I don't think we see a lot of those humorous parts as much as we would like, beside from the actors. So I'm going to go with No Man Land just because I'm going to run with the favorite. I'm going to run with the heavy hitter. And I think sometimes the more obvious pick is the best pick. Like sometimes we've had years where they say that's the best winner right there. Like I don't have to see anything else. And movies come out and you still say, No Man Land is still the best film. And I think it's going to clean house tonight and win a lot of the little awards too.
It's so interesting you bring up Parasite because obviously last year we saw that they cleaned up when it came to Best Director and Best Film. And that doesn't happen all the time. They like to split it. So it'll be interesting to see if No Man Land and this one gets split between you know what? Yeah, I got to go No Man Land. You're talking about it's been the favorite from Jump Street. This is it, and it hasn't wavered, And I don't quite recall last year's, but I felt like Parasite kind of made that final push in the last few months. But I kind of felt 1917 had that early lead for a while. You think that's kind of changed this way? Do you think it's going to be pillar to post for?
No, I know, man. And I think like the critics are like Minari. But I really think No Man Land has stood in the zeitgeist the entire time, which we don't see a lot. And I do see it being a lot like Parasite, surprisingly, where it's going to win a lot of the awards. I think we're done with the age of, putting this one over or getting a win back compared to, no, most likely director is going to win best film because that was the best film. And it was the best film because it was directed the best and it was acted the best. And I think we're going to start seeing that a lot more. And this year might test that. Or we might be completely wrong and it's the opposite. And we go back to more of a style of we need to say as many movie names as we can.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be an interesting year, and I think it'll be interesting after we hear who's best director, what is going to win best film. Because if it goes one way or the other, if David Fincher finds a way to sneak into it, which he won't, but like it'll be something. I think who wins directing will give us a direct pull on who's going to win best film. But I'm with you. I think Chloe Zhao not only wins best director, but I think her movie No Man Land wins best film at the Academy Awards. And with that, good brother, I think that does it for us when it comes to our Academy picks. We jump really fast to our DraftKings. No sponsor, of course, but you guys can if you want to. But we'll do something really fun if you want to. This is going to be our picks that we're combined with each other, correct?
Yeah.
All right. So for which film will win Best Picture, we're both agreeing it's going to be No Man Land.
Yeah.
All right. Best Lead Actor will go to Chadwick Boseman.
Agreed.
Best Lead Actress will go to Frances McDormand.
Frances McDormand.
I think I'm going to go Frances McDormand with you. With this one, I think when it comes to betting, I think she started off, and I think a lot of people are thinking she's going to win. I think Carey Mulligan, I picked her not only because I think she's a really good dark horse, but it'll be interesting to see you finally go have at least one against each other. So, but for this one, we'll both go with Frances. Who will win Best Supporting Actor? I think we both agreed that that's Daniels finally to win, right?
Yep.
All right. Who will win Best Supporting Actress? And I think we both agree this is going to go to you, right?
Yep.
All right. Who will win Best Director? We both agreed it's going to Chloe, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. We've had a pretty unanimous Oscars other than maybe a couple.
Let's get the awards, I think, where you and me start to separate, and that's when we'll get our records in.
It might start here, but we'll keep it, as a team. But this is one. Best Original Screenplay: Judas and the Black Messiah, Sound of Metal, The Trial of the Chicago 7, Minari, and Promising Young Women.
Promising Young Women.
Okay. I think Judas and the Black Messiah has a real chance. But just for us, we'll both go Promising Young Women. Which film will win Best Adapted Screenplay? Borat, One Night in Miami, The White Tiger, The Father, No Man Land.
No Man Land.
No Man Land. Which film would win Best Animated Feature? We both agree Soul's going to win.
Yeah.
And which song will win Best Original Song? Fight for You, Eosai, Speak Now, Hear My Voice, Who Savik.
I don't know. In this award, I'm going to defer to you on this.
I'm going to go Hear My Voice.
Yeah, you've been the music guy the last 2 years, so I'm going to defer to you on the bet.
I'm going to go Hear My Voice. I think that one has had the most buzz since it came out, and that's the one that I keep hearing the most, so I'm going to go with that one. All right. And with that, good brother, we submitted, and we submit the show to each and every one of you. Thank you guys so much for making us a part of your day. Thank you to Brady for being a part of the show. Good brother, any final thoughts? It was a beefy episode, but we did it. Mortal Kombat, Falcon and the Winter Soldier / Captain America and the Winter Soldier. And now our Oscar predictions. Any final thoughts? Any final things you want to get off your chest until next week's episode of The Good Brothers here on Mercado Airwaves?
I let people digest this episode, and then we'll be back next week to talk about the decisions made and maybe a little Invincible and what do we watch now that a lot of our shows are ending.
And we will have to talk about the fallout of the Academy Awards and who won, who lost, who got snubbed, and of course, which celebrity is going to embarrass himself both with their political and crazy speeches. Good brother, I'm excited about that. That should be a fun one. But with that, thank you so much. Follow him all over the universe, Mercado21 Alex on Twitter and Mercado2121 on Instagram. I'm on Twitter at Mike and Media. Instagram, Mike Mercado Media. The network is on Twitter at Mercado Airwaves, and the show is on Twitter at Good Brothers Pod. Good Brothers Pod, excuse me. Make sure you guys are liking, rate, review, and shares wherever you get your favorite podcast at Mercado Airwaves. YouTube.com/Mercado Airwaves Network. You can see our smiling faces, our dogs, whatever crazy t-shirt Alex is showing off his arms with, and so much more. That's youtube.com/Mercado Airwaves Network, and on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Teespring.com/Mercado Airwaves. We have swag. Check us out there, and so much other stuff. But with that, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy your movies. Make sure you guys are catching up on all those shows that are on your queue. And make sure you enjoy the Academy Awards. For the good brother himself, Alex Mercado.
Adios.
And for Brady, I'm the good brother, Mike Mercado. We will see you next time here on The Good Brothers on the Mercado Airwaves Network.
Network.